impeccable gentlemanliness and congratulated Usyk, who has been a magnificent fighter. So let's talk in detail about the future for Anthony Joshua, some of the comments that his manager Eddie Hearn said in the aftermatch news conference with two boxing fans. Let's talk to Gus Devlin and Dan Morley, professional boxer. Welcome, Gus. Welcome, Dan. How are you guys?
Oh, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, very good, thanks. And, you know, like Anthony, Gus, so absolutely gutted, so disappointed for Anthony Joshua, but there's still plenty of fight in him and plenty of actual meaning and reason for him to come back and concentrate in the gym, which is actually what he likes to do.
Yeah, I think he's shared the ring twice now with Alexander Usyk, 24 rounds shared and two decision losses, obviously. This time was a bit closer. I think the rounds were definitely a bit close. I think he definitely lost the fight. I know he was a bit disappointed, like you said, afterwards. And I think that was just more the emotion and passion from his post-match speech. And obviously, you got to credit Alexander Usyk as well, especially what's happened with Ukraine. He had the colours of freedom, the Ukrainian flag. He was wearing that on his T-shirt. So he's a pound-for-pound great. And Anthony Joshua avenged one defeat to Andrew Ruiz in Saudi Arabia. He couldn't quite get the job done, but you know, there's still massive fights out there for him. There's still maybe the Tyson Fury fight if he comes out of retirement. There's the Dillian White rematch. There's Joseph Parker, Joe Joyce. There's Deontay Wilder, who's coming back and fighting in later this year, I believe. So, yeah.
I mean, there it is. The schedule for Anthony Joshua to go out and fight his way back into contention. That's what Eddie Hearn said. You know, he was only fighting twice a year, and he said, look, I want to get him back in the ring as early as December. Anthony Joshua said, I'll take anyone you fancy. And you know, I think we're going to see Eddie Hearn put Joshua in the ring. What do you think, Dan? 4 or 5 times over the next 15 months?
Yeah, I mean, you know, activity is key. And every fight he's had has been a massive fight. Eddie Hearn said it yesterday in the press conference. You know, I think since the Dillian White fight, every fight has been either at the O2 or at a stadium, Madison Square Garden, or at
massive fights for Joshua. They're not run of the mill.
No. And the first fight against Alexander Usyk, all credit to him for taking that, because there were ways out of that fight. He was a tricky opponent, a mandatory challenger. So, you know, he has taken all of the tough fights. And, you know, this going into this fight, the pressure going into this fight, it was billed by lots of people as a make or break fight for him. You know, had he have lost, it may well have been the end of his top flight career. I think with hindsight and a good performance, that won't be the case. But, you know, I think he will have to take a step back, and it might do him some good just fighting a few lower level contenders, getting his confidence back. And as Gus said, there's so many big fights for AJ. You know, who wouldn't want to see him against Deontay Wilder? Or there's so many big fights for him out there.
Indeed. And Gus, you know, you heard what Eddie said after the fight. They love each other. That's the great thing between Joshua and Eddie Hearn. There's a real tightness. There's a respect, both in management and professional boxing, between each other. They will listen to each other. And we know that Anthony Joshua isn't just about the big fight on the big night. He loves the partnership with his team. He loves to train. And if he can get into that workaday mentality once more, train hard with a view to more deadlines, 4 or 5 fights in a year, why not? You know, get him back into contention. Let Usyk and we'll talk about Tyson Fury in a moment, get that out of the way so that Joshua can then get back into the ring with the eventual champion of that one.
Yeah, I think Fraser Clark touched on it on Sky's broadcast. I think Joshua might do him the world of good just to take a bit of a break. Like, his schedule for a heavyweight, even though he's only fighting twice a year, is quite a lot. There's some heavyweights like Tyson Fury, I think, went through a stage where he only had one fight in 4 years. I know he had his mental health struggles with depression and alcohol abuse and all of this stuff. But like you say, Eddie Hearn and Anthony Joshua's trust between them is so important. They've been with each other since Anthony Joshua turned pro. Obviously, he won gold at the 2012 Olympics. So, yeah, that's obviously very important as well. But like I said, there's some massive fights out there for him. I wonder if Eddie Hearn will give him a bit of an easy touch. He said that in the post-fight press conference, where he went on to say that Joshua has taken such tough fights like Brazil and Martin, Parker, Povetkin, Klitschko, Ruiz again, Usyk and Usyk. It does take its toll on you, not just physically, but also mentally. But be interesting to see what his next move is. Me personally, I'd like to see him take a bit of a sort of a middle ground fight, just to get his confidence going again, because I think he is really a confidence fighter. And then maybe, next summer he can jump in with someone like Deontay Wilder or Dillian White. But heavyweight boxing is changing all the time, so we really don't know what the scene will look like next summer.
Indeed, Dan. What's your weather forecast for Anthony?
Yeah, no, I am a fighter myself, so I know not to the pressure that he's been under, but I know how how it feels taking a loss. It's a confidence knocker. When you're at that level, the heavyweight championship of the world, confidence is such a big thing. So I agree. I think that there's lots of fights available for him to take early on. Not necessarily an easy touch. I guess you could compare it to the Deontay Wilder situation right now, coming off of two stoppage defeats to Tyson Fury. He's taken a bit of time out of the ring, and he's now stepping in with Robert Helenius, who is dangerous, but it's a fight you expect him to win. So, there are plenty of fights out there for him. I can't think of anyone off the top of my head, but there are almost a dozen sort of borderline contenders that he can, decent names with good experience that he can build his confidence back up. Like you said earlier, just remain active, keep the activity. And then when he's got his confidence back, get in against one of the big boys and, see how he gets on. But I definitely feel that he needs to, just take a step back, rebuild his confidence.
And have a rethink before getting back into the ring and with a proper strategy. We're with Gus Devlin, boxing fan, and Dan Morley, professional boxer. We are talking about the future of Anthony Joshua and the man who was supposed to be retired. He went back on social media. He was watching the fight. He said, "Oh, get your checkbook out." So that's hardly the voice of a retired fighter. We're talking about Tyson Fury. He'll be up against Usyk. But how will he get on? Let's take a short break and join the guys right after this and talk about the next stage of the unified belts. Usyk versus Fury? Let's find out. Jonny Gould, but we are now talking about the very, very top of the heavyweight game and the attempt, I should say, of Tyson Fury to extricate himself from retirement. He was never going to retire, was he? But he wants that checkbook out to face Alexander Usyk, who's an exceptionally brave man. He was serving in the Ukrainian army since the Russian invasion of his country on February the 24th. And the Ukrainian army and Zelensky, the president, gave their personal blessing that he should leave the army service to fight Anthony Joshua. And Gus and Dan with me, I mean, that really buoys a professional fighter. Dan, when you are, in a sense, representing your country as well as yourself, it's an unusual condition in boxing, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak from experience because, what these guys have been through is just, you can't even fathom it, and to have the mental strength to get in and fight for his country, as well as, a fight of that magnitude, it's all credit to him. But, similarly, his best friend and, another Ukrainian, Vasily Lomachenko, also served out, defending their country, and he's going to be making a return as well. So they're just, they're mentally strong, incredible athletes and people.
This is the thing, Dan Morley. It is compulsory for fighting age men, presumably of their age 18, to fight. They're not allowed to leave the country. They have to represent literally their country with their body. And so it takes a special mission at professional level for them to be allowed to fight abroad. And I think it is actually a source of inspiration. We're seeing that with Zivchenko of Manchester City last season and Arsenal this year, to actually represent their country whilst playing their sport is a really quite unique condition.
Yeah, well, it was free to air out in Ukraine, for a reason. These guys mean so much to their country, and I'm sure it lifted all of the spirits. And same with Zinchenko. It's a huge thing. Sport. It moves people. It connects people in a time when it's so divisive and so horrible. I'm not an expert on the situation, but.
You're talking with great gravitas and expertise tonight, I can assure you. Gus, now, Usyk versus Fury, that's the one. How much of a purse are we talking about between these two? Presumably, Usyk will be on more money than Fury, or am I barking up the wrong tree to urge such a box office character like Fury out of so-called retirement?
Tell you what, there'll be an even bigger purse if Anthony Joshua would have won on Saturday night.
I know.
Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. But we aren't in that realm right now. So what about Usyk versus Fury? Who will be the big earner? And what kind of money are we talking about this level?
If you're talking, I mean, Tyson Fury in his last fight against Deontay Wilder against Dillian White, I should say, made, probably, guesstimating here, made probably the 80 to 100 million.
Oh,
oh
my
so,
word.
I mean, you're really talking, I mean, Tyson Fury's a superstar, really, especially in the UK.
Yeah.
So I'd imagine that fight would sell out Wembley 4 times over. I'm just not too convinced that Fury will come out of retirement.
Really?
Yeah, I just don't. Yeah, I just don't think so. I think the only fight he'd come out of retirement for is Joshua, and obviously there's sort of been talks about him having exhibition fights with athletes from other sports, but yeah, I don't know. I just see it. Usyk's just very, very awkward as you've seen on Saturday night and before at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I'd be surprised if you see that fight happening. I don't see it. But look, when there's money involved, anything's possible.
I was going to say, Gus, in a sense, then that defeat for Anthony Joshua isn't quite as costly as perhaps it might be in another sport, because if Fury only wants to face Joshua, then kind of all is forgotten in terms of the disappointment. He can pack himself up and fight Fury again, but obviously Joshua will have to fight someone else before that happens.
Yeah, I mean, like we said, like we mentioned before,
Yeah.
There's a list of opponents for Anthony Joshua. He has a big history with Dillian White. Dillian White's obviously coming off a defeat to Tyson Fury. That is a massive fight down the line. But again, I think, like I said, Joshua needs to take some time off, maybe like take a year out just to assess the situation. I'm sure he's not going to retire. He loves boxing. I think he brought out an Instagram post earlier where he said, like, I love boxing so much, and he felt really bad for sort of stealing Usyk's moment at the time of the post-fight interview. But yeah, like I say, going back to the Tyson Fury Usyk stuff, I'd be surprised if you see that. I think the Fury Joshua fight is a much more appealing fight to watch. I think Fury and Usyk have very similar styles.
Yeah,
I can see it being quite very sort of chess matchy, and sort of those two waiting to make the necessary move.
Which leaves Usyk, who is an undoubtedly fantastically talented fighter, slightly out in the cold, which is an unusual situation, Dan, for the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world at the moment.
I was going to say, I'll move up. I'll have to move up about 7 weight divisions, but yeah, for 1% of that money. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, he is an incredible fighter. You look what he done at cruiserweight. He beat so many. He won the World Boxing Super Series. Beat so many great fighters in their own hometown, and now he's a heavyweight champion. I think Fury would beat him. I agree with Gus. Like, Usyk is awkward. I just think Fury is just too big, and he himself is a master boxer, very versatile, can box on the back foot. But I feel like he would be able to smother Joshua better than smother Usyk better than Joshua was able to. So if that fight was to happen, I would fancy Fury. I don't know. It's a tricky one. Yeah. If Fury does retire, then there will be a belt up for grabs, and Usyk will be able to fight someone else to become the undisputed heavyweight champion. And that's an amazing achievement for him, whether it's against Tyson Fury or someone else. So yeah,
exciting stuff. Gus Devlin, Dan Morley, you have engaged me in heavyweight boxing at this level for the first time in many years. And gentlemen, thank you very much for describing the heavyweight division for us here on the Sunday Night Club.